It's a veggie BLT pita! I totally suck at video games, but love to play them anyway. Aloha, Veggiepeta here with your mostly regularly scheduled monthly tip, or thing I've played. I don't beat games often, but I've played a ton. Some good, some not. These tips will hopefully give you enough info to figure out if you'd enjoy whatever game I've played, or not. This month I was inspired by a friend on what game to pick. For better or worse, the tip for September 2015 is Unlimited Saga for PS2. Before being reminded of this game's existence, the only experience I had with it was watching another friend boot it up, choose their character, then promptly die to the first slime he fought. It was brutal. After that, the game was wiped from my memory banks, until Ken came along with a refresher.
Hi, Veggiepeta. Here's what happened. I was digging around in my old games because it takes me 6 months to unpack whenever I move to a new place, and I ran across this old gem. Yes, Unlimited Saga for the PlayStation 2. Now, we both know that you're the expert on JRPGs, so I need to ask you, and I mean this seriously, is Unlimited Saga for the PlayStation 2 the worst console role-playing game from the other side of the Pacific Ocean?
Flattery will get you everywhere, but as for being the worst JRPG ever, well...
I am being super serial right now, Veggiepeta. I mean, this is probably the worst JRPG that I personally have ever played by 1.6 country kilometers.
Can it really be the worst? I mean...
Now, I know you'll want to know why I think so, because we usually disagree about games like this, but I promise there are real structural issues here, and this isn't just me being dismissive about turn-based, menu-based combat in a video game that was designed the same year we started mapping the surface of Mars. Story makes no sense.
There are 7 wonders in the world, and 7 characters out on adventures to find them, crossing paths along the way. And once the 7 wonders are activated, there will be a golden age upon the land. That's not too nonsensical, though I'm not quite sure what the festival they keep harping on about has to do with anything.
Look, I haven't beaten the game, okay? I'm sorry. Beating the game is impossible for any sane human, but that's not the point. I have no idea who any of these people are, where they're going, where they are, why I should root for them, or any of it.
I'll admit there's a certain lack of detail in our heroes' stories, but they do make sense. This game touts a free scenario system that lets you make choices through the game, with apparently none of them being a wrong choice, so that probably explains the lack of depth. And since there are 7 different story paths with crossovers abound, not all of them can be canon to the plot. And maybe they do kind of just drop you into these people's stories and let you pick up any details along the way, but I think it's possible to get invested in them anyhow. Heck, after only the first bit, I was wondering what happened to Ventus's brother, so the draw is there.
I want to get further in the story and see if any of these weird threads here make any damn sense, but there's nothing here to draw me in. Every dialogue is a cardboard cutout character with speech bubble dialogue. Even moving through dungeons is a little cardboard cutout token of your character hopping around on a vague map.
I actually don't mind static images and dialogue in speech bubbles, but then again, I play a lot of visual novels, which are mostly all that. Now, granted, this game came out after Final Fantasy X, which was fully animated and voiced, but the artwork in Unlimited Saga is pretty enough for it to be the focal point. I do, however, agree with you on the ugliness of the cardboard cutout board game-ish style map/dungeon system. It's awful, and it's not intuitive whatsoever.
There are times when I wonder if there's a cutscene missing because the game slams into battle with little or no explanation. There are side missions too, like you'd expect, but the ones I embarked on featured maybe 1 screen of explanatory text and a brief dialogue, and that's it.
I think this is a sad side effect of the free scenario system. Stuff can happen differently and maybe even in a different order depending on your choices, so these scenes are a bit generic to account for that. Maybe.
Why would I want to go risk my life for that? Which actually brings me to my next point, which is that you are risking your life on any random mission in this game.
Yeah, this is a truth. I briefly skimmed the instruction manual before starting the game, and I was still completely mystified at how to play. I went with Judy first, mostly because she was the one the game landed me on, and somehow, through sheer luck, I made it through her first adventure. I was doing everything wrong, I'm pretty sure, as I had no HP left after only a few battles, so my LP was being attacked directly. About HP and LP, well, HP are described as a shield to protect your LP. HP damage is shown in white, and I'm pretty sure LP damage is shown in red, though this is never stated anywhere, not even in the manual. But sometimes, even if you have enough HP to soak up the damage, your LP decreases anyway? There's no rhyme or reason to it as far as I can tell. Even the manual kinda skirts around the issue. Kurt, who I met along the way, had some status effect on him for nearly half the adventure. I still don't know what it was. I was trying the hold system, where you can form combos with your teammates to attack, but I seemed to be damaged even more when I attempted it. And when a giant dragon flew in at the end of the forest maze, I thought it was game over. Yet, somehow I actually lasted long enough to complete the adventure, despite having almost no LP left. I kind of felt proud I'd beaten my other friend's record of die to first slime, but not at all like I'd done well. And then, on a different route, I managed to die right quick by an ambush from a trap. Because this game has traps too, for shits and giggles, I think.
Everything here fights you, and I'm not talking about the slimes. You mentioned reading the manual before playing, and you do have a point, but unfortunately, my $3.99 used copy did not come with one.
You know, even with the manual, it took about 2 hours of playing before I kind of felt like I knew what I was doing. Even so, I have gripes. Maybe this is just nitpicky of me, but having triangle be the cancel button caught me up more times than I'd like to admit. I'd get it if X was cancel, since that's typically how Japanese games work, but triangle? No other game I can recall, JRPG or otherwise, uses triangle to cancel. It's awkward. But maybe that's me. On the battle map, or whatever it is, as Judy, I'd see messages like, "There's a small opening" pop up, but no idea what to do with that. I hit all the buttons. Nothing. I even went to the skills menu and chose action. Still nothing. It turns out, which I discovered somewhere near the end of that first adventure, you need to go to the skills menu, then use the D-pad to go over to a different image that appears in the top left corner, then choose action. Ugh. The manual mentions that skill menu action thing, but doesn't mention how you choose what you're actioning. But Ken, I think you of all people...
I know what you're thinking. I complained about the tutorials in Final Fantasy VIII and how long it took to explain junctioning. Well, how wrong I was. Here's the thing about Final Fantasy VIII and Unlimited Saga. Both of them have systems that are different from most other RPGs. Unlimited Saga doesn't explain its weird slot machine attack system. It doesn't explain its weapon crafting system. It doesn't explain how you even use weapons. I was mystified about why I was punching slimes in the face until I realized that melee, which is the default action in combat by the way, is actually directing your character to punch instead of to use the dagger I crafted completely by accident that lets me throw fireballs for some reason.
Ah yes, combat. I mean, they do show a big hold or go with the button commands at the bottom of the screen, but that's the closest to a tutorial this game gets. I like the gamble of holding attacks for a chance at higher possible damage, but enemy turns are so random that it's hard to figure out if it's worth holding or if the enemy, that may have already attacked twice mind you, will interrupt your combo and attack again. This interrupt attack does more damage, of course, which really sucks when you have no clue how to play. As for the weapons, I'm lost on those too. I don't even know enough to try and explain. Some weapons have moves you can use in battle, and some you can't. You make weapons by fusing stuff at a blacksmith, which are only available in some towns, but not others. That's all I got.
Even something as relatively simple as leaving town doesn't make sense. Instead of going to the world map, which does nothing, you go to an inn and select the next mission from, yes, another menu. I figured it out, but why the heck did I need to figure out something like leaving town?
Oh, that's not all. If you have a carrier mission, you can't leave through the inn. You have to leave through the carrier building, messing with what you've already learned. And other times you just get plopped right into a dungeon map from town without having to do anything at all. So there's that.
The worst part is that I'm sure there's a fascinating and deep system under all this, but you'd never know it because you're going to get wiped out by the first saber-toothed tiger mid-boss you randomly decide to pick a fight with.
Hey, I made it through the random dragon mid-boss, and I was supposed to die to the vampire dude, so that can't be the worst part.
I'm sorry, that actually isn't the worst part. The worst part is that this game does not care about how it looks, how it plays, or how it presents itself. There's an incredible amount of art and character design here, and they even bothered getting some A-list voice talent. Then they told the animators to take a walk, I guess. The towns, the dungeons, the conversations, even the character interactions are all just cardboard cutouts. This isn't some tiny little indie developer we're talking about here either. This is the same developer who made freaking Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger.
I had no issue with the art in towns and during cutscenes. It's beautiful stuff. And the voices, besides Armic, who needs to die in a fire,
I wonder why they picked a blockhead like me.
are recognizable from other games and anime. Heck, they even got the Full Metal Alchemist himself.
People who usually speak of Fugar like a pest of the town kiss up to him at times like this.
The dungeon presentation is awful though. There's too much on the screen, and it's all the wrong stuff. It's not fun, it's not avant-garde, it's just not good. And the Square pedigree, especially back in the early 2000s, demands so much better.
If you're going to have a game with a weird new system and 7 different story modes and everything, that's great, but you've got to present it better. I say I hate Final Fantasy VIII all the time, and I know that offends you, JRPGs, but I don't really hate it. I just think its story is silly and that the gameplay drags a bit. It's still pretty and has a coherent combat system that tries new things, and I appreciate that, even though the game, for me, is kind of a stinker. So what's up, JRPGs? Have I got it wrong on any of those points? Is Unlimited Saga, in fact, the worst JRPG ever?
Listen, Ken, you and I will need to have a talk about Final Fantasy VIII another day. But as for Unlimited Saga, it's maybe not the worst JRPG ever, but it certainly ranks high among the pack. And that's Unlimited Saga. It's a few innovative ideas buried in a sea of god-awful implementation. I'm not sure whether to thank Ken for coercing me into playing it, or to smack him next time I see him, but at least I got past the first slime. If you've played Unlimited Saga and either agree it's a travesty or want to argue for its virtue, leave a comment below on my Twitter or Facebook. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.